And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. Couldn't do it.
Up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, welcome back everyone to Anti-Religious Scripture Study with Karen B and Just Jack.
Still flat.
It is still flat. This is episode number 25. Thank you for being here. Happy Gregorian New Year.
No!
Happy fake Gregorian New Year.
No, don't say it. It hurts. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I have to deal with this nonsense. People telling me Happy New Year, and I'll be like, yeah, in a few months it will be.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. But, you know.
All right, just because, the subject's here, I didn't want to address it. I'm glad we didn't go live last week because I didn't want to address that one, because people, do your own research, look at the root of these holidays. I'm just saying, Please, it has nothing to do with scripture whatsoever, and it doesn't even have to do with the original like, oh my gosh, how can I say this? All practices of winter celebrations are rooted in a very dark practice of winter worship, okay? And as far as the new year goes, they replaced this month and called it the month of Janus, January, which is the god who sees to the past and future. Some say goddess, some say god, depending on which culture you're looking at.
Well, you know they love that androgyny crap.
Yes. So this is not, I mean, if you think about it logically, right? It's not the change of any season, right? Midnight is not even a time that you could reckon, right? Like if you like tried to make an observation in the sky of what is midnight, you're not going to be able to do it. Okay. So you have this whole, you know, midnight on January 1st, New Year. It's the rededication to the false deities that, you know, are all about, if you look at the practices of these deities, they're all about rape orgies, child sacrifices, horrible, dark, evil things. Okay. So whenever somebody, even just somebody saying Happy New Year's to me, it paints a whole picture for me of these evil, evil people. Right. So I'm like, no, I have no connection to that BS New Year. The spring is an obvious new year. Everything that was asleep wakes up, you know, all the new births happen. I mean, it is the beginning of the year. So, and that's why I love, you know, Karen doing the solar return and Flattoberfest, because these are changes of seasons. These are actual momentous occasions that we should pay attention to, because these are the cycles that Yah has put in place, because this is called the early and the latter rain. There's only 2 seasons according to scripture, not 4. So we are ending out the latter season right now. And it's different for northern regions than southern regions, right? Like they're ending their hotter latter season, and we're supposed to be ending our colder latter season. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what
that was
what
really
it was.
weird.
I'll have
Sorry
to listen
about
to it
that.
later.
Sorry about that.
Anyways, I was saying that they do everything backwards. Like when the earth is least profitable, that's when they want us to go into debt, and people complain about whether or not my children are missing out. But my children get gifts throughout the year. I don't wait till a certain time of year and say, okay, let me manipulate you to try to get you to do what I want you to do for financial gain or for toys or for whatever. You know, I teach my children right and wrong. Okay, here's the cause and effect relationship. If you're righteous in what I ask you to do, you will be rewarded. If not, you will be punished. You will lose certain perks, if you will. You know, you'll lose your video games or whatever. So, you know, there's all these manipulations attached with the holidays, to where if I don't do your holidays, you think my children are hurting because of it. Like that makes no sense at all. It's just like, I mean, it's like anything else, you know. You have these people who are not religious at all that are still just as strict about these religious holidays. Right?
Yeah.
You have people that are agnostic or atheists that worship Christmas sometimes more extravagantly than some of the religious folks do, you know? So that it has nothing to do, again, it has nothing to do with the scripture. If y'all haven't done your research about it, please do. Like every symbol of Christmas is a bad thing. Like the wreath, the tree, the tinsel, the ornaments, the red ribbon on the wreath. I mean, it's all promiscuous oriented. Let's put it that way. All right. So you want to go ahead and do the recap, or?
Sure.
You want to do this?
All right. So last week we did chapter 37.
Not last week.
Or the week before. Last time. Right. Yeah. And chapter 36 was a genealogy chapter, so we did not really go through that one. So 37 we went through, and that is about Yaakov and Yosef. and how that's his favorite son, and he has a dream that everybody interprets to make it mean that they have to bow down to him.
Right. It wasn't Joseph's interpretation. They all interpreted it. Yep.
Right. And so they end up being really jealous of him, throwing him in a pit, and then he gets sold into slavery at Mitzrayim, to Mitzrayim.
Yep. And as I was saying to Karen, I thought that this, I do know a lot of the scriptures in context, but if you ask, like, what chapter do they talk about Yosef being thrown in a pit? Like, if you asked me before we went through this anti-religious scripture study, I wouldn't have told you chapter 37. But now I know. It's like, oh, that's chapter 37 where they're talking about this, right? And I would have assumed that the next chapter would continue the story of Yosef, but it appears that no, it does not. It actually goes into another event that happened with his brother. So it's very interesting because when you see, like, I'm okay with entertainment with movies. Some people are not, and that's noble. I mean, granted, I get it. Movies are programming, but I use it as a teaching method. Like, my children call out stuff all the time, like, but look what they said, blah, 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 and they point out things that, they know are propaganda. They know that they're lies, stuff like that. But regardless, the movies that make me the most angry are not the propaganda films that are, to me, quite obvious, but they're the religious films, the films that are based on Bible stories that they don't line up with the scriptures at all, and they drive me nuts, because I know the actual context of the story, and it's like, okay, so if you watch these movies, you're not going to understand these stories at all. I'm just saying, like, if you think that you have a good bead on the Bible because you watched a bunch of Bible movies, you're screwed. They're not comparable. It's just like religion and the Bible. If you think if you've been a religious person your whole life and you think you know the Bible, you're wrong. So, and Bible is a loose term, biblios, so from the scriptures.
Right.
All right. Okay, it looks like it looks like there's no issues going on now, so we can go ahead and we pray for those who are sick. Pray means to make a request, and I pray that you strengthen them with your power and let them get closer to you so that their bodies will heal themselves as they are meant to. And I rebuke all that comes against them in your name, Yehovah, creator of heaven and earth. Amen.
Matt Potempa, what are you talking about? Seriously about to ban you, dude. Who uses sex to sell flat earth? It sure isn't me.
Yeah, that's weird, dude.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude. I don't know what you're talking about, and you need to kick rocks. Because that ain't me.
He said he had a crush on you for being a philosophizer, and then you dressed up all gaudy for Flattoberfest. Gross.
I wasn't dressed up all gaudy for Flattoberfest. I wore, like, leggings and a hoodie. Who are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's trolling. You can kick him. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I might as well just...
How dare you not dress scantily for me, weirdo. Anyway. All
right, so...
Hi. And the world goes on. So, yeah. We're in chapter 38 now, and we're completely out of the subject of Yosef until further notice. We will return to Yosef.
All right. 38:1. Chapter 38. We ready to start?
Feel free.
All right. So it ends with Yosef being sold into slavery, and then it says, and at that time. So is this happening around the same time that the last thing happened? It's just not related? And at that time it came to be that Yehuda left his brothers?
That, if you look at my translation, it doesn't quite say that. And exists in the time So it could be "and now," or it could be "in that time," or it could be in a different time.
Okay.
Like it existed in the time that Yehuda left his brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than, and in that time that what happened to Joseph, Judah left his brothers. It could be either. I don't know for sure, right? But it could be interpreted as in the time that he left his brothers, or in that time he left his brothers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depends where you put the comma.
Okay.
But there is no commas in Hebrew.
Okay. And at that time it came to be that Yehuda left his brothers and turned aside to a man, an Adulamite, whose name was Cherah.
Very good. Cherah.
Adulamite. Somebody from...
It's a Dulami, somebody from the tribe of Adullam. So, or it could just be Adullah, but it's the witnesses of a bound people.
Mm.
Bound people meaning a group of people, like a tribe, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're the tribe of witnesses. They call themselves the witnesses. Not Jehovah's Witness, but...
Okay. And Yehuda saw there a daughter of a certain Canaanite, yeah, that's right, whose name was Shua, and he took her and went into her.
Yeah, her name is Shua, and this is part of the name Yehoshua or Yeshua that people may have heard. It means to rescue or of distress, right?
Okay.
So she, now remember, they're supposed to like separate themselves from the Canaanite, right? Because they're the people that won't let go of their child sacrifice deities.
Mm-hmm.
And they kidnap people, and they're the people that Abraham dealt with on and off as the bad guys, so to speak.
All right.
So he wasn't even supposed to be involved with that, trying to marry that tribe, but he did.
Okay. So she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name
Right, and this is the same as, it's Er. It's kind of a guttural E, so Er. But anyway,
which means dark or city.
Yes, it's the same word as city, right? So the word for city is dark, right? Because where you living out in the field is the natural way, and compacting people into a city is the dark way.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go ahead.
And she conceived again and bore a son and called his name Onan.
And this is Onan. Okay, so if you remember when Yaakov, Yisrael, his son was born, his last son, his wife was dying in childbirth, and she decided to call his name Ben Onan. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's the same Onan. It's vigor, but the last vigor was the vigor of distress, right? So it's very distressful, and that was what she was going to call his name, but then he changed his name to Benjamin, which means son of my strong hand.
Okay. That's right. I remember that. And she conceived yet again and bore a son and called his name Shelah.
Yep, Shelah.
And he was at Kezib when she bore him.
Yep.
Keziv.
Yep. And Shelah is make a request.
And Yehuda took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar.
Yep. And Tamar is a standing tall or palm tree.
But Yehuda's firstborn, was evil in the eyes of Yehovah, and Yehovah took his life. Oh, really?
Dark was evil? Imagine that.
And
Yes.
Yehuda said to Onan, "Go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir to your brother."
By the way, this is the rule, not the exception.
What do you mean?
If you have a wife and you die before she bears a descendant of you, then she's supposed to marry your brother, and he's supposed to carry on your seed, your line. So the first child that she gets impregnated by your brother, that's called your child, not his.
Oh.
So like, let's say I have a brother. I don't have a brother named Tom, but just for the sake of story, let's say I have a brother named Tom, and I marry a woman, and she doesn't have a child. Well, she marries Tom, and Tom and her first baby would be my baby, right? So my seed is carried on, which, because it has a very similar electric signature called DNA, right? I'm just saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And Onan knew that the offspring would not be his, and it came to be when he went into his brother's wife that he spilled on the ground, lest he should give an offspring to his brother.
What did he do?
He spilled on the ground, so he pulled out.
He pulled out. That's right. Yeah, it's because now I've had people come to me about this. Like, is it against Torah to pull out? Like, not try to get pregnant? And I cannot find anywhere in the Torah that you must complete the process. This is the only place where it's not permissible, because he is denying his brother's child by doing this. It's not just because he pulled out. It's because he's not doing his responsibility to bring a child. You know, he's like, I want all the benefits, but I don't want the responsibility. Right? Okay. So, and that goes with like anything. Like, whenever you have your way with a female, you're supposed to take care of her for the rest of her life, right? You're not supposed to just go after the benefits and not take care of the responsibility.
Right, right.
And so, like, as far as like children go, like the command that you must be fruitful and multiply, that means you should, have 3 children, right? Because if you have 1, then you're diminishing the number by 1. If you have 2, then you're just replacing you and your spouse. And if you have 3, now you're actually adding to the number, right? So you can't be fruitful and multiply if you have less than 2 children. I'm just saying.
Okay. Actually, it makes sense. All right. But what?
And by the way, there is this thing, like, Muslims are very, very strict about this. Like, they have to have at least 3 children, because they need the populace to grow. Like, it's actually a command that they must have more than 3 children. And they have this like rule, if like you can't convert people, that you go into their country and you populate it so that the numbers just become, more of us than them type of thing.
Right.
All right. Anyway.
Okay. But what he did displeased Jehovah, so he took his life too.
Of course.
I don't really get that, because Jehovah killed the other guy. Obviously, he thought he was evil.
Yep.
Right? He took him out before he could have his own offspring. And the other guy didn't want to give his offspring, but he died too for not giving the offspring.
Yep. Yep, because the thing is like, Onan was perpetuating the same sinful lifestyle, the same non-life perpetuating lifestyle. Okay. Right? Most sins that are death sentence related are about stopping life, right? So premeditated murder, sexual immoralities, these are death sentences because they stop the life process. And so because he's stopping the life process, if he's not going to continue life, then, he doesn't deserve to live. Anyway.
Then Yehuda said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, "Remain a widow in your father's house until my son Shelah is grown," for he said, "lest he also die as his brothers did." And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house.
Now this is, so he's saying he has a third son, but he wants to wait till he's 20 plus before she tries to carry on the name of the firstborn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Yehuda sent her back to her father's house. Now this typically isn't done unless there is a dowry, something she could live off of, right, for the rest of her life, a financial gain. And he didn't do that. He's like, well, we'll still take care of you, but just wait till my youngest son is old enough. Then we'll take care of you financially. So until then, go back to your father's house, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. And after a long time, the daughter of Shua, Yehuda's wife, died. And Yehuda was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers at Timnah, he and his friend Hara the Adulamite.
Right. This is the father of his wife's friend. Yeah.
This is weird.
Yeah, I mean, this is the point. Like, it's in such detail here, right? Like, we may not see the importance of the detail, but when you look at it, you know, broken down with the meaning of their names, you know, it's kind of like it's a cycle story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes there, gets a wife, it doesn't work out, so he goes back to that same location. And now Tamar is there, waiting for Yehuda's son to be old enough to marry. So he's going back to town where she lives. Now he wouldn't be going there typically, but this is where he brings his sheep to be sheared. Right? So there's a professional shearer, you know. So that's why he's finally going back to her hometown.
Okay.
It's important. It's going to play out, but it's important for him to have a reason to go back to her hometown because he lives in another land, in the land of the Canaanites, right? So now he has to go back there for the sheep shearing, and of course, Tamar is there.
Okay. And it was reported to Tamar, saying, "See, your father-in-law is going up to Timnah to shear his sheep." And she took off her widow's garments and covered herself with a veil and wrapped herself and sat at the entrance to Anaim, which was on the way to Timnah, for she saw that Shelah was grown and she was not given to him as a wife. So
Yehuda's holding out. He was supposed to take her, bring her back into his house, and take care of her.
Mm-hmm.
And it hadn't been happening, so she's like, okay, well, I'm going to go intercept him. I'm going to meet him halfway at this other town and intercept him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is interesting, too. Like, there is something to this widow's garments. Like, there's a specific raiment, a specific clothing set that you will know that this female is available, yet has been with another man, right? Mm-hmm. So this tells me that it's not like you accidentally upon another man's wife, right? If there's a woman who's not married, she's wearing a certain thing a certain way. Mm-hmm. So you know who's single and who's married. Not a ring on the finger, but their raiment, their clothing.
All right. And Yehuda saw her and reckoned her for a whore, for she had covered her face.
Yep, she was wearing a veil, and she changed her clothes, so she dressed as a whore.
Whores covered their faces?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's.
And then most cultures of the Near Middle Eastern, the whores shave their heads, so that's something.
Weird. And he turned aside to her by the way, and said, "Please let me come into you," for he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, "What do you give me to come into me?" So
Yeah,
so
what's the
he's trying
payment?
to proposition her as a prostitute.
Yep. And she's like, "What are you going to give me?"
And he said, "Let me send you a young goat from the flock." And she said, "Do you give me a pledge until you send it?"
Okay, so young goat, go back.
Mm-hmm.
Young goat or kid is actually of prosperity. Of the prosperities of my goat. So the beginning of that, the reason I wanted to point this out is because the beginning of that is Gimel Dalet. So go to HSBR. And then if you see goat, and then kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so kid,
Okay,
you see it says Gedi in the English. It's Gimel Dalet Yod. Okay?
okay.
Gimel Dalet is God. As in prosperity.
Okay.
So it's the prosperity of the flock is called, it's the same word for kid. The prosperous part of the flock, the money of the flock is the kid.
Huh.
All right? I just had to point that out because I found that interesting that, the God pops up there.
Well, and that it's the money of the flock, and then there's like this world like child trafficking ring.
Yes. Yeah, and that's why they call children kids now.
Oh, that's terrible.
Because they're sacrificial prosperity things. Anyway, it's horrible. Yeah.
And highly valuable.
Yeah, and sons of Baphomet, all that. It's bad. It's bad. When they call children kid, it is not
bad.
It's not for cute reasons. Originally. All right.
And he said, "Let me send you a young goat from the flock." And I just read that.
Yep.
So he said, "What pledge should I give you?" And she said, "Your seal and your cord and your staff that is in your hand." And he gave them to her and went into her, and she conceived by him.
Yep. And the pledge is Erev, which is the mingled with darkness, evening, dawn and dusk, Erev. It's the same root. Erev means mixture, but it also, by extension, means barter. And then the token or the pledge is a symbol of the barter. In other words, a placeholder, like an IOU, if you will. Okay, so that's what a pledge is. It's not like, I pledge allegiance. It's not like that. It's not like you swear to anything. It's a marker of an IOU. Okay?
Okay.
So she says, you can give me your signet, you can give me your twist cord, and you can give me your sway pole. So your sway pole, it's like a long staff, right? Because you lean on it so you don't sway. So the signet is usually a ring or a metal stamp, or sometimes carved in stone, but it's your family's crest, if you will. And then the twist cord is how you're bound. It's usually around your waist. And then because it's a symbology for a binding, and then the pole is what you can lean on. Okay, so this is the sign of connecting to your this is a I can lean on this binding of your sign. Okay, so it's symbology like all throughout this.
All right.
She's smart. She's really smart. Let me put it that way. Now this is only because he promised her a goat. He doesn't have a goat. So this is all just, you hold on to these things, which are very important for me. I would never leave them with anybody, right? But I really want to be with you. And here's all this stuff, right? So that, just to let you know, I'm going to pay you back with the goat. Here's all my very important stuff.
All right.
And this is also, he could sleep with her, by the way.
Yes.
All right.
And she arose and went away and removed her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood. And Yehuda sent the young goat by the hand of his friend the Adullamite to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her.
So he walked him back to home, and he's like, hey, can you go bring this goat back to that town and, go exchange this, find her. She's holding my signet. She's holding my pole. She's holding my cord.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
And he didn't find her.
Right. Because he's looking for the hooker.
Yeah. And there is no hooker now. There's just this widow.
And he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the cult prostitute who was beside the way to Enaim? And they said, there was no cult prostitute in this place.
Okay. Cult prostitute. I don't know why the scriptures translate it this way.
I don't know.
Let's see
funny.
Let's see what KJV says.
All right. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, where is the harlot that was openly by the wayside? And they said, there was no harlot in this place.
Okay, so why is one cult prostitute and one is harlot, and it's different from the word from the word that was prostitute, right? So why is there this different word? Because the root of this word is the same word where we get the English term, which I don't use, which is holy. Holy means set apart. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this female individual was set apart specifically for that purpose, for that promiscuous, for that job, right? The oldest profession, right? So the reason it says cult prostitute is because they're going off the thing that, she was holy compared to certain religions, right? Holy just means sanctified, sanctimonious, like having to do with a religion type of thing, where it literally just means the female that's set apart for this specific job. That's all it means. So he's saying, we didn't have one of those here. We don't have those here.
6, 9,
see,
4, 5.
See, devotee, that works. But yeah, keep going from. Go to the next from.
Next from is Kadash. Causatively make.
Kadash.
Clean,
Yeah.
appoint, bid, consecrate, dedicate,
AKA
defile,
holy.
hallow, be, keep, holy, keep, prepare, proclaim, purify, sanctify.
Yeah, so it's set apartness. Yeah. Specifically. Either for religious reasons or for other reasons, it doesn't matter. It simply means set apart. So it becomes problematic for these people who see this word that typically means a really good thing, like being kadosh for Yehovah means to be set apart for Yehovah. Here it's like, that means it's prostituted. So we can't use the term prostitute, so we'll use cult prostitute as in this cult thinks she's holy, but that's not what it means. It specifically means set apart. Set apart female. Yeah.
And he returned to Yehuda and said, I have not found her. And the men of the place also said there was no cult prostitute in this place.
No set apart female in this place.
No set apart female. And Yehuda said, let her take them for herself, lest we become despised, for I sent this young goat, and you have not found her.
Let her take them for herself.
So is he saying, oh, well, I guess just screw the stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, forget the young goat. We've been, if we try to pursue this chick, if we try to run her down, then we're going to look bad.
Right.
So just let her keep it.
And it came to be about 3 new moons after that Yehuda was informed, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has whored, and see, she has conceived by whoring. And Yehuda said, bring her out and let her be burned.
Now why is it saying that she's whoring?
I don't know.
Okay. So in the term of whore is not like a paid sexual promiscuity. It's any sexual promiscuity. It's sex out of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So this chick, who is your daughter-in-law, has gotten pregnant by someone other than your son. Well, hello, he didn't marry her to his son like he was supposed to do.
Right.
But yet he's saying, bring her out and let her be burned. Like, what?
Yeah. You were ignoring her. Now you want to burn her?
Exactly.
When she was brought out, he said he sent to her father-in-law saying, she sent to her father-in-law saying, by the man to whom these belong, I am pregnant. And she said, please examine whose these are, the seal and the cord and the staff. Oh, dun, dun, dun. Oh, and Yehuda examined and said, she has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah, my son, and he never knew her again.
Yep. So he's like, yep, she's right, I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, he was wrong in a lot of ways.
Right. And it
and
came
this,
to...
again, this is the quote unquote, the holy people. These are the chosen people of God.
Yeah.
According to their own claim. Right. We're the Jews. We're the chosen of God. But here you can see this is the root of that tribe name, Yehuda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he did a lot of bad stuff. Why? Because he's just human. He's not a set apart special guy.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, through him, there have been descendants that have led up to Yeshua, and including this one. Okay. So if she did not dress the part of a harlot, all right, the prostitute, if she did not trick her father-in-law and sleep with him, then the lineage of Yeshua could have been cut off at Yehuda.
Really?
Yes. This is a great grandmother of Yeshua.
Wow.
Of Mary and Joseph, if you will. Of Mary, sorry.
Of Mary, okay.
Yeah.
And it came to be at the time for giving birth that, see, twins were in her womb. Oh, plot twist. And it came to be when she was giving birth that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet thread and bound it on its hand, saying, this one came out first. And it came to be, as he drew back his hand, that, see, his brother came out. And she said, how did you break through? This breach be upon you. So his name was called Peretz.
The breach, yeah. Crazy, right?
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine, like, having twins? One of your sons reaches out, and you mark him. And then he pulls back in. And he's, like, pushing his brother out. Yeah, you get out.
That's crazy. And afterward his brother came out, who had the scarlet thread on his hand. So his name was called Zerach.
But he's rise dawn. So he's like the first. He's the first rising. He's the dawn. So yeah, this has nothing to do with Yosef, obviously.
Right.
But it goes on further. You know, it's like when I was in church, I didn't hear this story, right? I didn't hear that some lady had tricked Judah, you know, by becoming a prostitute. Now, maybe some people have heard it somewhere in their Sunday's class before or whatever. But the interesting thing is it's people, so it's messy, right? It's not perfection. Everything doesn't just work out unless you line yourself up with the Creator. Now, Yehuda shouldn't have even gone where he went to find a wife in the first place. But because of this, it caused all sorts of issues. But Tamar, in dwelling amongst Yehuda's clan, realized that there was something to this righteousness, to carry on a son's name, to not be promiscuous, but to take responsibility. So she was called more righteous. And this is to say that this is a quote-unquote bad guy, which is Tamar, doing the good guy thing. So now she is righteous, and the righteous one, quote-unquote, Judah is now the wicked one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a case-by-case scenario. It's based on your cause and effect relationship of how you walk out this life, of what is righteous and what is not. It's not just like, just because I accepted Torah before you, Karen, that doesn't make me more righteous than you, because I can screw up and you can do the right thing. And that's a case-by-case basis. So now, is there a, clearly there is an allowment for what is even called prostitution, right? Why is there even a thing called prostitution? Because there were females who were in a predicament where they had no one to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would sell themselves for employment, for income. Yeah. And it sucks that they would have to go there, right? Which is why in the Torah, it's commanded that your tithe, your 10% that you put away, does not go to the church. It goes to the widows, the orphans, and those in need. So in her particular situation, regardless if Yehuda sent her away, she should still be taken care of by the community, by all the people. And that's why my wife and I, we do not send our monies of tithe to any organization. We put our tithe away. We put our 10% away in a special account. And whenever Yah gives us somebody that he wants us to give to, we just give it to him. And then typically it's always, the typical response is, oh my gosh, you don't know how much I needed this. It's the right amount at the right time. Yeah, we know, because that happens to us, right? So we tell them, this isn't from us. This is from the Creator. He looks at your situation. He told us to give it to you. It's all the Creator, So that's how the tithing is supposed to work. And how much better would the quote-unquote religion be if that's how it actually happened?
Yeah.
Right? If people in need could come up and then, without being prompted of how much to give, they give the exact amount at the exact right time. That's how it should be.
Yeah. That's
all right.
awesome.
So I'm going to look through here. Dude got hustled for a goat. It's funny. 2 shekels behind the bus depot. Oh my goodness. Doc Michael, you're silly. All right, so they're not really, they're listening in, but they're not adding to the content.
Right.
So, yeah, this again, like when people put other people in a hierarchy, they say that this person's more holy than me, this person's more set apart than me. That's not how it works. That's not how the Creator works. The Creator looks at the intent of the heart, and if they're pursuing the fullness of life and Him, the Creator. If you're continuously pursuing what continues life, if you're continuing to pursue what pleases the Creator and by extension creation, then you're in right standing with the Creator. It's not a religious thing. It's it's a heart intent thing. So it says, those who love me will guard my commands. Why? Because he's an overlord? No. Because his commands show you how to live longer, happier, more prosperous lives, and how to help others to do the same, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of that has to do with doing not a lot of it. Some of it has to do with doing some ritualistic things like, let's say Yom HaKippurim, the day of searching yourself and searching the Creator, where you put everything else aside and you're just meditating and you're seeking out and you're seeking in, and that's important to connect with the Creator. Now, some people are like, oh, that's too spiritual or it's too ritualistic or whatever, but it's a necessary thing because we are not just physical beings. In fact, we're more spirit than we are physical, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that, because that energetic part of us really affects the physical part of us. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, our body does not function if we don't have that spark, right? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't function. So these things like setting apart every 6 months, every change of the season, we set ourselves apart for an entire week to connect with nature and connect with the Creator. I don't see that as a problem, but some people do. You know, some people are like, well, I can't take that off of work, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And it's like, well, if you tell your employment ahead of time, like, I'm going to need a week off in the spring and the week off in the fall, I'll let you know, like, a month ahead of time, they're usually good with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's only your fear of man and how they're your provider that binds you up so that you can't get these days off. You know, it's just like the Sabbath.
And I think a lot of places will be cool with it too if you volunteer, because you'll probably end up working on days like Christmas when nobody else wants to.
Exactly. And that has been the pattern of my life since 2012. It's like, you know, like nobody else is working this weekend, but I'll work for you. You know, I'll work on Sunday. You know, I don't have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
I just won't work on Shabbat. Like, if you really need me to do work on Saturday, I'm not going to do it. I'll do it on Sunday, which means it'll still be done by Monday. You're still good, you know? And so, you know, this process of, like, you know, when you first get into this process of trying to find out what the Creator requires and then trying to apply it, in the beginning, it's very difficult because it's a major culture shock. But it's the same thing as when, let's say, flat Earth, for instance, right? When you first hear about flat Earth, it's a culture shock. At first, you're like, this can't be. This is the biggest lie ever. This is not possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, as you pursue it, as you dig into it more, it becomes like, why would I ever deny this? Why would I ever reject something that I know to be absolutely true? Because of my investigation. It's the same thing. When you go through this process, if you go into it by means of religion, you're never going to get there, because all you're doing is listening to a dude and not doing your own investigation of what is required of you according to the scriptures.
Right.
But once you do go through that process, you're like, okay, it really isn't that difficult. It's just a culture change. I have to change from the way that I used to think of being very selfish and dog eat dog and, you know, materialistic, to more of a giving, spiritual, energetic person. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people, you know, and Karen, you know this about me, some people hate me and some people love me because I'm on the high end and I don't compromise. If I make you uncomfortable, too bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
This is me. Right? So, and it's really funny because I attract the most, what's it called? A B personality. Like, I'm an A personality and they're a B personality. I forget that, you know, they're really reserved, right?
Right.
I attract a lot of reserved people, which is really weird because you'd think that, like,
yeah.
But, you know, this is the path that I'm on. And, like, when I tell people about flat Earth or about Torah stuff, like, everybody on the outside looking in is like, you're giving them too much information. You're hitting them too hard, da-da-da-da-da. And I said, well, I'm that type of person. I'm the line in the sand guy. You either accept it or you don't, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't accept it, and what am I going to do with you? Okay, you don't accept it, you don't accept it. But I'm still going to give you all the information. And let's say I meet someone, I've actually done this with people at a gas station, right? I'll be pumping gas, they'll read something on the back of my truck, whether it be about news control mechanisms, or whether it be about Torah, or whether it be about flat Earth, and they'll read something on the back of my truck when I write in glass chalk or bumper stickers or whatever. And I'll have this conversation with them, and we're standing at the pump for an hour with me talking to them. And then the person who was there with me is like, why did you do that? You gave them so much information, they're not going to be able to retain it all. And I'm like, I don't need them to. I just need one thing, one chunk of that conversation to stick with them, to pick at them, to be like, this one thing I cannot resolve. I need to investigate it for myself. That's all I care about. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with flat Earth. I don't just tell them, hey, the Earth is flat, check it out. I give them a crap ton of information, and some things are going to click from their own experience or whatever. A lot of times I'll ask people what they do, and then I'll tie flat Earth into their occupation. helping them realize, oh, yeah, I actually did know this thing. Like, let's say they're a construction worker. Well, you use a water level, right? There you go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like, you know, you guys be open, be honest. If you're not where I'm at right now, that's okay. Share the truth that you have. Some things will resonate with people, and that's what we need people to do, is to be skeptical, open-minded, and do their own research so that we can come to a truth, right? I know so many people that are just completely mad at me because I'm doing this Torah study. Like, they're mad at me. Like, how dare you?
Why?
Tell them to go to church. Well, because they want them to go to church and do the Jesus thing and the repeat after me prayer and all that stuff. They don't want people to read the scriptures because they need to have a pastor to interpret it for them. Well, I'm not a pastor. I'll take teacher, right? Because the only way you can be a good teacher is to be a good student.
Right.
Right. So I'll just say I'm a student who teaches, because I'm learning through this process, just like all of y'all are. I'm getting a deeper understanding of something I already knew to be true. Now, did I know it to be true on day one? No, I fought with it. Like, no, this can't be true. This ruins my whole religion. This ruins Sunday. This ruins Christmas. This ruins Easter. This ruins pastoralship. This ruins, like, the altar on the stage. This ruins the cross for me. This ruins the fish for me. It ruins, you know, it destroyed my life, and I'm happy for it now. Same thing as flat earth. Like, I'm definitely on the outskirts of the consensus now, and I'm happy for it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look what happened in the last couple of years. I am so happy to be woke.
Yeah, I know. That's what I've been saying for a long time. Like, could you imagine all this crap going on and
Oh my gosh,
thinking that there was some truth to it?
just being another zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would suck.
Would really suck. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, like right now, I'm on Skype with you, and on Skype it has reaction buttons, and all the reaction buttons are winter holiday related, and naked lady butts on the bottom.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like people spam it in chat. They don't realize that these icons are there to keep us, like, in the symbology circle, right? Mm-hmm. They're using occultic symbology, and they're making you repetitiously do it over. Like, the heart is actually about prostitution, and they used to hang a heart or draw a heart on the door for letting people know that this is an orgy house. And they used to take these little pills, cephalium, I think it's called, something like that. But the seeds of them were heart-shaped, and they were used as pre-abortants, right? So, like, it's the morning after pill back in the day, so that you could be promiscuous without any responsibility.
Oh. Yeah.
It's 11:11 for Rico.
Yeah. Well, now it's 11:13. Or 12:13 for us.
Yeah, Ann Gaynor, I don't know why the Kabbalah red string bracelets, but it probably has something to do with this. They take everything to the umpteenth degree. They want to seem ultra spiritual deep, but they'll be ultra spiritual deep when they interpret scripture, but then they'll ignore the plain scripture all the time. In fact, like stuff like you don't eat blood, and then they specifically eat blood. You know, stuff like that, because they can interpret it a different way. You know.
Right.
No, I mean, no more emojis. I mean, look, it's just, you have to learn the roots of these things. It's your choice whether or not you use emojis. It's just like it's your choice whether or not you accept the Torah as truth. But what I'm saying is, you should investigate the roots of these things, and then you can make an informed decision of if you want to keep doing it. Like, for instance, you know, a lot of people use the symbology right here in the chat for praying hands. Well, there's none of this in the scriptures. In fact, that's a confining hold, right? Where in reality, scriptures is mostly with your hands thrown up, like being open, or laying completely prostrate, which is grounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're either an antenna or you're grounding, and not this whole like confined to self. The praying hands is even a thing. So, Unveiling This Realm has put a heart in the chat that is actually a blood pumping vessel.
Well, yeah, that's an anatomical heart.
Yeah, exactly. And wasn't it you that showed that video where they opened up the 4 chambers and it's actually one part?
Yeah, it's
one
like
piece?
a rope that twists.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is creation and interesting creation stuff right there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's very electrical, right?
Yep.
We mess around with creation.
Because they always talk about how does the heart pump all those little blood vessels into every little nook and cranny of your body? How does it do that? How could it be strong enough? It's not strong enough. It creates a pulse, which charges your blood vessels, which are shaped like a toroid, which is like the perfect shape to hold that little energy field. And then it goes, choom, just follows the route, the charge route. Yep.
Indeed. And that's the thing, like, heart, the what's translated as heart in the scriptures is the intent, right? Mm-hmm. And that's that's you putting your energy to a specific thing. So yeah, it's very interesting to look now where as a Christian, I would have called, Karen B a New Age witch and say burn her at the stake and, because you're told to not investigate things like this. But then when you actually like translate the scriptures for yourself, like everything, it all ties together. It all makes perfect sense. That's why I say there's, the New Agers, quote unquote, are closer to the truth than the Christians typically are. Okay. And I'll say typically just for, for PC, mm-hmm. right? Because what they're doing is a religious thing to feel good for themselves, where the exchange of knowing everything is connected together makes it so much more real. And that's why it's a cause and effect relationship where if you do something good for somebody else, it does react to you because it's all connected. Right?
Yep.
If you were a prey tied up on a journey, your hands would be tied together. Yep. Yeah, Doc Michael put 3 okay symbols to be funny. You're a funny guy, Doc Michael. They don't burn witches anymore. They drowned them. Oh, thank you for correcting me, Ceiling Fan Man. Thank goodness he was here. If they float, then they were a witch. Oh, no. If they survive, then they were a witch. Oh, she drowned. Oh, she's a good person then. It's fine.
That's right.
So ridiculous.
What's up, Ceiling Fan Man? Good to see you.
All right, so... Oh, Frank Logic, I gotta get in touch with you, by the way, soon. Yes. Blood has a metallic taste, and it tends to be magnetic. Yep, because iron is red. Mm-hmm. Iron is red, and that's where Adam, red, earth, it all comes together.
Yep.
Right? And that's why Adam's name was prophetic in saying, I will bleed. I will be one who has red blood. Which I believe when Adam was first made, he didn't have red blood. But go back to episode 1.
Yeah.
If you want to hear about that. Or no, I think it would be episode 2, because episode 1, well, no, it was probably mentioned in 1. Sorry, I'm trying to think back.
Around there, somewhere around there, 1 or 2.
Oh, she drowned. We were wrong. Yeah, it's horrible. But, it's like this thing with the Christians. I mean, now it's more like come as you are type of thing. Like they want to turn a prostitute away. But in the same event, anybody has the opportunity to do a functioning purpose, to do a righteous purpose. And if you make a lifestyle out of it, then you are a righteous person. Not righteous as in better than anybody else. It's just you purposely try to have the function in your life, right? You try to continuously be of function and not of dysfunction, right?
Right.
Be a positive, not a negative, you know? So long as you're the more negative you are, the more disconnected you are from the source of the positive, which is Yehovah, the existence.
There you go.
Not the ceasing of existence. All right.
Yeah.
On that note, boom, boom.
All right. Speaking of that, go out and connect with existence today.
Yes, please do. Take a break. Get your feet in the dirt. Put your hands in the sky if you want to. It's good stuff.
Touch a tree with your bare hands. That helps ground you too.
Definitely. Or just lay on the ground.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. If you can.
Don't do it in an ant pile. That's not smart.
All right.
All right, y'all. Stay flat.
Yeah, stay flat. Thanks for being here, everybody. Much appreciated. Shabbat shalom, and we'll see you next time.
Shabbat shalom.